with my co-host Hagen. As always, brought to you by Chinook Seedery and Stat Soldier. If you need some sunflower seeds, go see Chinook Seedery and use Skipper's View as your discount code for 10% off sunflower seed needs. Stat Soldier, founded and created by our CEO, Dean Siriaco, and his merry band of IT professionals. So go check in on that. If you want to create some cool stats and get some cool graphics, it's an awesome website that you'll be seeing more and more and more in our blogs and our tweets out here across the next coming year. Hagen, obviously, it's been about 2.5 weeks since we've been on, and we obviously, we'll give our kudos. Small clap for the Dodgers. We knew that was going to happen. Even with our gut feel, dude. On our last episode, I was like, "Oh my gosh, the Dodgers they're trailing 3-2, and somehow they pulled it off." We knew it in the pit of our guts. Everyone knew it just because of how much off-season work they did. Even though when it came back down to it, um, they didn't get the production, out of their main guys all the time. Like you had Pages, who had a game-saving catch. Yamamoto, who's been their ace all year. Obviously, he won World Series MVP, which was outstanding. But Otani, he didn't, he had that one awesome game, but I didn't have him winning MVP for the Dodgers in my prediction, my MVP prediction piece that I put out. Any big takeaways you want to talk about the World Series, or you want to just talk about the fun stuff? What's been going on in the off season?
I do want to dive just jump right into the offseason stuff, but congratulations to the Dodgers. I mean, incredible stuff what they did, obviously, to come back from there. And honestly, kudos to the Blue Jays too. Me and you didn't think they were going to be there. I don't think anyone really had them to be there, going from finishing last in the division in 2024 to making the World Series and going to the seventh game, going to extra innings. That was incredible stuff from the Blue Jays. Obviously, if I'm a Blue Jays fan, I would not feel ashamed of what that year was at all. That was an incredible year from them. But congratulations to the Dodgers.
Yeah. Congratulations once again. So we got a few topics we're going to run through real quick before we dive into the, meat of this episode, which will be us going through free agency, where we think guys are going to go, what moves do we think teams are going to make. But let's knock out, obviously we've had some big awards this week, so let's knock that out because I feel a lot of these awards were kind of set in stone for a little bit. And we could just start off right with the Cy Youngs because they're being announced as we record. Tarek Skubal just won back-to-back American League Cy Youngs. This is the first back-to-back Cy Young award since Pedro Martinez back in 1999-2000 did this in that year. Skubal, we'll talk about him in a little bit in detail about his team situation extension. But Hagen, best pitcher on the planet.
Been the best pitcher in baseball. Been the best pitcher on the planet for two and a half years now. You could even argue we all saw it coming in the beginning of the year that he was going to win this Cy Young. He's the most dominant pitcher in baseball. There's no question about it.
I feel that. And then guy who's the second best pitcher in baseball, arguably. I think this is finally it. We no longer can say Kershaw. He's gone. Verlander, Scherzer, they're all getting up there in age, and obviously they might be exciting next year if they sign a couple one-year deals. But really the big thing is Paul Skeens, and Paul Skeens just won his first career Cy Young Award. I couldn't be more happy to be an owner of this card with his autograph right now, his first Bowman, for all those wondering. He signed this for me in an Indianapolis Indians game. He's the man. I couldn't be more happy for Paul Skeens. Well deserved, and he's obviously been a very hot topic, especially today. There's a lot of news about like him supposedly wanting to go play for a team in New York. But anything on Skeens, Hagen?
I mean, obviously, great year from him. It just kind of gets your head wondering how many is he going to win in his career. Obviously, he has to stay healthy and all this. How many does he win before he's a free agent? How many does he win with the Pirates? How many he's win in his career? Is he get 5 in his career? Because we all know he has the capability to do that. Incredible stuff from him. And then even if I real quick on the stuff with like where he was saying he wanted to go to the Yankees. If that was true, screw the teammate who's going out there and saying that. That's kind of a bad teammate, in my opinion. I get you probably Skeens shouldn't be talking about that stuff openly if that's true, but you shouldn't be spreading that to the media. That's just stupid, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's not fair to Skeens. Even if it is true, it's like you're not letting him tell his story. You're telling his story for him. And if I'm in Paul Skeens' position, why do I not want to pitch for a better team right now that's going to invest more? Like, I already proved I could shove. I want to win. Like, Paul Skeens did not transfer as good as he was. He transferred to LSU for the competition out of Air Force. He transferred to win a World Series. That's what he wants to do. And right now in Pittsburgh, I know they got some really exciting things going with the pitching, especially, and they got some young pieces and they got some questionable pieces, and then they got some pieces they got to get rid of. But they're nowhere near a World Series contention right now. Like, you think they're beating the Dodgers in a 7-game series? Absolutely not. So I get it. If he, even in fact, if he is saying things, which we don't know, this is all hearsay. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I wouldn't want to be in Pittsburgh either. So that being said, that story more will develop as time goes on. Let's talk about Manager of the Year. They announced it last night, or was it 2 nights ago? I think they did managers. Last night was Rookie of the Year.
Last night.
Yeah.
Or 2 nights ago, yeah.
Rookie of the Year. Let's just start there. American League, Nick Kurtz, unanimous. Second place voting in the American League, his teammate, Jacob Wilson. Hagen, Athletics got a nice little thing cooking here with the youth movement.
I mean, yeah, all they really need is some pitching. That offense bangs. I mean, that coming into the year, they were going to have a pretty solid offense. I don't think anyone thought Nick Kurtz was going to be the third best hitter in baseball from April 23rd on when he debuted behind Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. That was incredible from him. He pretty much had the award on wraps since June, July, whenever you really want to say. Even want to say that 4 home run games, that's when he had on wraps, really. And then, obviously, we got here, too, like Drake Baldwin. He won the National League Rookie of the Year, which that one was a lot closer, obviously, because Cade Horton, and what he did in the second half being one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball down the stretch there was I leaned Cade Horton, but I can totally see why Drake Baldwin won the award. And congrats to him. Obviously put up a great year for the Braves. I just more valued that pitching in bigger innings for a playoff team, not just splitting some time at DH and catcher for a team that was not good.
Yeah. Baldwin's a dog. And I feel like all year long, I was very much paying attention to him because I have him in a dynasty league. And I'm like, this guy isn't just good. He's like good for rookie. He's good at baseball. Like I think the Braves have nailed this. And if they decide to, part ways with Murphy in one way or another, whether that's like let the contract end or they decide to move him before the deadline this year, I'm actually going to look up his contract as we're going, but they could totally do that because Drake Baldwin can absolutely mash and they could rely. What is he, 23, 24 years old, Drake Baldwin?
I believe so.
Do you know his age?
I believe 24 years old.
Sean Murphy, by the way, he's 24. Okay. And, Sean Murphy, he has a 6-year deal, $73 million, and that ends at the end. There's a $15 million club option in 2029. So anyone who wants to trade for him, he's, currently he's 30 years old. He'll be 31 next year. He's going to make $15 million for the next 3 years. I think a team that which would be crazy if somehow Sean Murphy ended up in Philly, if Philly decides to let JT Realmuto go. Because Philly needs a catcher, and they cannot afford to let JT Realmuto go if they have any aspirations to win next year. Something to think about.
I mean, it is kind of an idea. It is kind of an idea there.
It's kind of an idea. But there's plenty of teams that could use, primetime catching. And Sean Murphy, he's an excellent catcher. So we'll see what the Atlanta Braves decide to do with Murphy and with Baldwin. But great years by Kurtz and Baldwin and Jacob Wilson for that matter. Let's talk about Manager of the Year. So this is weird, dude. We have back-to-back Manager of the Year for 2 managers, and it's Stephen Vogt of the Cleveland Guardians, and we got Pat Murphy of the Milwaukee Brewers. The even crazier thing, both of them are in year 2 of their reign of their respective ball clubs. So the first 2 years they've each been with their organizations, they win the Manager of the Year award both years. I thought that's something really cool. What do you think the odds of that were to happen?
I think when they both signed on their deals here, I probably zero. I don't think anybody had that in mind. And if you would have said that, people would have called you crazy. How often does a manager even win manager of the year back to back years? I feel like you hardly see that, let alone two guys doing it in their first 2 years at the same time. It was pretty cool there. And I think Pat Murphy seemed like a pretty lock for me. I thought he was going to win that award. In the American League, I thought I saw a thing for John Schneider to win there. I thought it was honestly going to be him just because of what he did with the Blue Jays. And I know you can't take into postseason in account for it. Obviously, if you could, he would have won the award there. But you got to factor in with all the Emmanuel Clase stuff going on and the turnaround the Guardians had. They were not a great team to start the year. He had a federal investigation going on in his team, and they still made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. It sucks to look at it that way, but it's a really good way to look at it. Like they had a federal investigation going on with them, and they still made the playoffs. And like they did that without, they didn't get DeLauder like earlier in the season, but they were expecting that bat to come in and really produce from the outfield position. They didn't go and get any starting pitching. They really relied on their youngsters to kind of produce a lot of innings, and they did well. They did well. Cade Smith, it looks like it's his, role now for the foreseeable future in Cleveland. But it kudos to Stephen Vogt. I don't know if he necessarily like was my top choice if I had to think about it a little bit more. Um, I don't know. Is there anyone else in the American League? Because like the National League, I think Pat Murphy 100% took that. I can't name another team in the NL like a manager that deserved it more.
I mean, I think John Schneider in the American League, I think just from taking your team from last to first, no one had the Blue Jays really doing well, not even making the playoffs, but let alone winning the American League East, winning the 1 seed. They had the home and field advantage over the Dodgers in the World Series. I mean, that shows a lot for what they did for that team. And I thought he held the locker room great there. Seemed to pull out all the right moves this year.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing about Kurtz and Wilson and their awards. They're the ninth pair ever of teammates to finish first and second in Rookie of the Year award winning. So pretty rare stuff. But we can move on talking about awards. Let's talk about some news and notes real quick before we get into the meat here. So Atlanta, they hire Walt Weiss as their 49th manager of the ball club. Weiss was promoted to the position after 8 years of being a bench coach for the Braves. He's a former shortstop, played 14 years in the MLB. 3 of those were with the Braves. The Braves also hire former Mets pitching coach and first base coach for the 2026 season. So that'd be Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach, and Antoine Richardson. I don't know if am I saying that correctly, Hagen? You're the Mets fan here.
Antoine Richardson.
Yeah, and so they're going to do the same roles down in Atlanta. Are those big losses for the Mets, you think? I think the pitching coach is massive.
I mean, yeah, these are things like I talked to Jeb on the phone about this for probably 30 minutes last night, going over just these two alone. So I could get pretty in depth on this. I'll say I won't, but Antoine Richardson, that's a huge loss for the Mets there, which every Mets fan, I mean, not many first base coaches can not come back to their team, and Jeff Passan's going to tweet about it. That's the easiest way to describe how much he meant to the Mets. And Hefner was more, obviously, it sucks to lose him. I think he's a great pitching coach. But when you're going to keep your manager after a season like that, someone's got to be canned out, and it's going to come down to the hitting coach and the pitching coach.
Yeah. Well said for a quick synopsis. The Padres, they hire Craig Stammen as their next manager. He's going to be a first-time manager. He's 42 years old by opening day, so he's relatively young. He's going to be the 24th manager in the club's history and their sixth full-time manager, I should say, under GM AJ Preller. So Mike Shildt resigned last month. We'll see what magic AJ Preller could pull out. I'm very curious how the Padres are going to respond to this past season. And with the death of an owner in the last few years, they've, gone through managers now with AJ Preller, their GM. So that's kind of been the one staple, the one cog in the San Diego organization of the last, decade or so. He's got to be there. And they brought in Machado. They obviously got Tatis. They brought in multiple stars. They brought in, oh my goodness, from Xander Bogaerts. They've been very aggressive. I'm just curious to see how this all works, and they got a few big stud free agent pitching arms this year. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but Bruce Bochy, he's finalizing a contract to join the Giants staff as a special assistant to Tony Vitello. So Vitello, famously the Tennessee Volunteers college, or University of Tennessee, I should say. He was the baseball coach there, and he's making a massive jump. Is this the first time it's ever been done in baseball history, college to pro?
Or is it I believe so, yes.
So,
I believe college to pro with no prior experience in professionals. I believe it's the first time.
Yeah, and that is, it's a big jump, and I kind of love at bringing in Bochy, a guy who has a proven track record of winning. He's won 3 titles in San Francisco, so bringing him in to help guide and transition him into Major League Baseball, I think this is an awesome move. I think Buster Posey's doing all the right things right now, and they just need to catch their big fish or two. They just went and got Devers, they got guys there. They got guys. They signed Adames a year or two ago. San Francisco, if they make some more, of the right moves, they could be a real threat in the West coming up. And finally, the biggest news before we jump into free agency here, Paul DePodesta, and I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Are you familiar with who this guy is, by the way, by his name, not by his character?
This is Jonah Hill, aka Peter Brand from Moneyball. I mean, that was a hilarious hire to me. Obviously, just because the Moneyball thing, everyone knows because of that. But also the fact that he's coming from the Cleveland Browns. He was working over there with the Cleveland Browns as a president role over there, I believe. And it's just kind of funny that the Rockies would hire him. Obviously, nothing against Paul DePodesta. I think he can be a great hire there for him, but it doesn't really scream great when you're coming from one of the most dysfunctional organizations in all of sports with the Cleveland Browns, who just really can't get anything right. So it's just kind of funny on that sense that the Rockies went that way with their hiring.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And my take from this is honestly, like, I think the Rockies, this is kind of like a last ditch effort because, like you said, he was in baseball forever, went to Cleveland. I'm not trying to show disrespect. Obviously, this guy's a genius. Like, we should love what this guy does for the game. And like Moneyball, I love the idea of like, hey, we could put together a team without having to spend $500 million. Do I love the fact that teams have freedom to spend that money? Yes. But I do like the fact that you can go about baseball multiple different ways and win. And that's a whole nother episode about a minimum salary cap, and what Paul DePodesta does to that, and what how he runs a baseball team, how that counteracts like what baseball has been. So it'll be interesting. And I think the Rockies, they know they're in trouble. Like they don't have the money to outspend a New York or Los Angeles or what have you. And the farm system's a travesty right now. It's not, for being so bad on the field professionally. Like your minor league system is not where it should be. Like look at Milwaukee, look at Los Angeles, look at these teams are really good on the field and their farm systems are also loaded. Seattle's farm system's loaded. They just lost in the ALCS. I think like the Tigers, they were in the playoffs this year. Their farm system is really good. They have guys like Kevin McGonigal and Max Clark coming up. And then even the Guardians produce their guys and they always find arms to make it work. I think Colorado, I think the ownership and the management of Colorado over the next 2 to 5 years is going to be super interesting. And we might see a massive shift, whether it's a shift of location of the ball club, sale of ownership. I'm not predicting that this is going to happen, but it's very, where else does Colorado turn? They can't get arms to come there. And we're harping on this a little bit longer than I thought we would be, but it's true. They can't get arms to go there. The Chris Bryant contract is puke worthy. It's like one of the worst contracts in baseball, if not the worst at this point. And they're throwing a Hail Mary here to see if they can make it work and find a sound team that can compete. That being said, Hagen, let's talk about the fun stuff. It was my birthday the other day. Girlfriend got me my Yankees hat, and I was like, I am wearing it because this is the spending time. This is where Hal Steinbrenner can come in and show to me that he loves the game of baseball. Because right now, he hasn't proved it to me. I think he can. So
It is the exciting time for both of us too. After two disappointing ends of the seasons for our teams, this is kind of what we've been waiting for a month now.
yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited. And both of our teams, they're both spenders. They're both in New York. So, I sent you two links. I sent you, and for those listening, we're going through the Athletic. They put out a, article back on November 6th. This is by Tim Britton, Aaron Gleeman, and Chad Jennings. Essentially, they ranked the top 50 free agents. And then there's another one from the Athletic that we're using, and we're using this as reference by Tim Britton again. This was November 4th. Just like what the predictions of big deals are and their ranked free agents. So let's start from the top, Hagen, top down, and just kind of go 2-3 minutes about each of these players until we get tired of talking. But the biggest fish out there is Kyle Tucker. There's no doubting that he's the biggest fish in the pond right now. So he is an outfielder. He is what people consider a five-tool player. And my understanding that he's in the camp that he's 29 years old and he thinks he's getting a $400 million contract. So let's start there, Hagen. Do you think that he's going to, one, get $400 million, and two, who's going to give it to him if you had to say?
I do believe he's going to get $400 million, especially what we see nowadays in free agency, how high the prices are for these players now. Especially true if you get a couple teams in there both want Kyle Tucker, the price is going to be raised there. And there's only about 5 or 6 teams that can even give him the contract that he's going to be worth. So it makes this a little bit easier for us on the Kyle Tucker who's going to sign him. But I think to clear who people aren't going to like to hear this, but the Dodgers, that's their hole is corner outfield. They need someone who can play corner outfield for them. I think Kyle Tucker is the perfect fit. You go out there, sign him, but that's not where I'm going to go with this. I think it would fit great there, but I'm going Kyle Tucker to the Toronto Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays have shown they're going to pay people whatever the hell they want. They're in all these big time free agents. I know he's played Vlad Guerrero Jr., but I just don't think you can run this exact roster back and expect to make it to the World Series again. I don't believe that's a World Series winning roster, especially look at the Dodgers, look at the other teams. I think he had to bring a guy in. I think Kyle Tucker could be that guy to go in there for him.
Tucker, and like the thing is, I feel like for people, they could be like, oh, he's from here. He's from Tampa. He's not going to the Rays. So I could omit that. I'm looking, and this is according to Spot Track. We got the Dodgers, Mets, Toronto, Philly, Atlanta, Houston, San Diego, New York, Texas, and San Fran. Those are the top 10 active payrolls or total payrolls for next year. The Dodgers already have a massive payroll. That is like the one thing that I'm like, okay. And the odds that they win the World Series next year, sure, by Vegas, they're number one right now. They actually released them like I think the other day, and after they won. But the Dodgers are getting older. Like Shohei is, I'm not saying he's older, he's anywhere near done with his career, but he's not in his 20s. He's 31, I believe. Freddie Freeman, well, he's starting to show his age a little bit this offseason, this postseason. Kind of. He didn't run as much this year. He's 35 years old. Max Muncy, who they just got back on a qualifying offer, I'm pretty sure. He's also in his mid-30s. And then Kershaw's gone. Obviously, they got a lot of farm system guys, and they got Betts still, and they got Shohei, and they got Will Smith, who's become an elite player. He's been an elite player. We just never considered him one because he's surrounded by so much talent. But I don't know. I feel like the Dodgers are going to spend cheaply on the outfield. They're going to try and find like another Michael Conforto deal, like a $15-20 million guy, and then really attack the bullpen aggressively and go after Edwin Diaz. That's what I could see the Dodgers doing. How much would that piss you off if they go after Diaz?
I have already had so many conversations about that. That is, I would be very vocal and very mad on Twitter if that actually happened.
So I'll say this. Do I want Kyle Tucker to be a New York Yankee? Yes. Do I think that happens and they're able to sign like get Cody Bellinger back? I don't think the Yankees are going to be able to get both done. I would love for that to happen and let Trent Grisham walk. We'll see. If he doesn't go to the Yankees, the team that he would least piss me off going to is the Philadelphia Phillies. I would love Bryce Harper to get a running mate if Kyle Schwarber is not going to return, and be I want Bryce Harper to win a title. I want him to win a title the same way I want Mike Trout to win a title. The problem is Mike Trout's not winning a title and playing for the Angels. So Philly has the pitching staff. Hopefully, they get Wheeler back from this blood clot and everything's good in the hood there. They get Real Muto, maybe work with Schwarber. They reunite, get the band back together and they add Kyle Tucker. And I think having Kyle, and Chris Bryant, sorry, not Chris Bryant. Oh my gosh, Bryce Harper, all in the heart of that lineup with Real Muto and some other dudes. Philly would be scary with Kyle Tucker, and it would be kind of like, you're paying Harper and Schwarber for a little bit, but Schwarber is going to get a bigger AAV deal. He's not getting like a 10-year deal or anything like that. So I feel that would be the team. It's in the National League. It's not in the American League. If Kyle Tucker were to go, and like Philly's a team, I would like to see like being able to be more combative. And same with like, I don't think the Braves are going to, I want to see the Braves be better too. I don't want to see these teams that like have so much hype just like fall flat on their face during the season. So I would love to see him in Philly if it's not going to be New York. I would hate to see him in Toronto with your prediction. That would piss me off so bad. The amount of damage he's done to the Yankees with Houston, let alone being in the same division, that's just like salt in the wound. It would suck.
Like likewise on that with him going either the Phillies or the Braves, that would piss me off a lot too.
So this article in the Athletic, they have predicted 10 years, 350 million. I think that's a fair, like that's like, a conservative bet because it's not the 400 number, but he's going to get a long deal and it's going to be, he's 29 years old and he's a 5 tool player. I think, I don't know how, but I think he's going to land closer to 400 than 350 and be with someone.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get probably around that 380 range. If I had to say 385, I'll put somewhere in there, but I'm gonna go over 350 for sure.
Sorry, just finishing my coffee there. Let's hop on to Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette was injured leading. He was third in baseball this year in hits. I think he only finished like a few hits behind. I'm going to pull that up real quick. But moral of the story: Bo Bichette is an excellent hitter, and he was out for a little bit this year. Came back for the playoffs. Was solid for Toronto, and he's owed quite a bit of money, Hagen. And I think people think that Toronto's going to hold on to him. I'll start off with this one. I think if Toronto gets Bo Bichette, they're very quiet the rest of free agency. I think they make a lot of like patch. Like that would be their big guy to get. Like if they get Bo Bichette, that means they didn't get Kyle Tucker. That means they didn't get Framber Valdez. That means they didn't get Dylan Cease. But I don't think they're going to get Bo Bichette. I think Bo Bichette is going to land with either Atlanta, which I doubt. I think he's going to land with San Diego. I think that's going to be their big splash is Bo Bichette to San Diego.
I haven't heard that one yet. I have not heard San Diego for Bo Bichette.
It'd be interesting because, like, you feel, and by the way, in hits this year, just to point it out for everyone how awesome Bo Bichette is as a hitter. Was it two? So this year he was second in hits, tied with Luis Ariz, who we know who doesn't strike out, and he was 3 short of Bobby Witt Jr., who played 157 games. Bo Bichette played 139. So in 18 less games, he had 3 less hits. He would have led baseball in hits in 2025 had he played the extra games. He was also, Bo Bichette, I'm looking, I think it was the 2023 regular season. he led baseball in hits again, or was it? No, he was ninth in hits then. So he's been awesome multiple years in a row. In 2022, he was number 3 in hits. He's going to get a lot of money. He was number 2 in 2021. So this guy's consistently top 5, top 10 in hits in the game. Hey, where are you
I
going with
mean,
that?
he's a hit machine. He's a hit machine. I think the big question, I think the bat's not a question at all, Bo Bichette. The question is the defense. I don't believe he's a shortstop. I don't think these other teams really view him as a shortstop either. Because I'm not paying Bo Bichette $200 million to be my shortstop and play some bad defense over there. I think he's a second baseman, third baseman, whatever it is. I know teams have reached out and said they want him that way, obviously because they already have shortstops. But I think he's going to go. I know it contradicts with the Kyle Tucker move as well a little bit, but I think he does stay with Toronto here. The only reason I would not say Toronto, if I had to go against that, would just be that there's been some character issues there with the locker room. There's been a few little things that have came out that he's just the hustle and all that. So I can see them being okay to move on from him from that sense, but I do think he ends up with Toronto still.
Imagine if Bo Bichette goes to the Padres and then their infield looks like Cronenworth at first. They put, I would say, Xander Bogaerts at second. No, put Bo Bichette at second. Let Xander Bogaerts
Yeah.
be short. Machado at third. That's a really good infield on top of having Tatis lingering, who just won the Platinum Glove, which we whole different argument about that one. But they would be loaded if they go and get Bichette. And like you, less stress on Bogarts, I think could bode very well for him, especially at 31 years old. I don't know. It's something I could see. Preller aggressive, so we'll see. Let's talk about Alex Bregman. So I'll let you start with this. Bregman's famously Red Sox. He had a 3-year deal with I think 2 opt-outs, one after year 1 and one after year 2. So let me hear your take on Bregman.
As Scott Boras put today with his little puns that he does, I think he's going to Brexit the Red Sox, and I think he's going to go over to Detroit. I think Detroit's looking like they're going to spend some money on a guy. I know they were in deep talks with him last year before he ended up going over there to Boston. It's obviously the mutual interest. Everyone already knows the AJ Hinch connection there too. I think it just makes too much sense. It's just going to come down to, will Detroit be able to open up their wallets a little bit? And I think he'd be willing to eat a little less money to go to a team like Detroit. Obviously, he showed last year he would be able to go there, and I'm going to say he's going to go to Detroit and play for the Tigers.
I don't know what it is. Everyone's saying Detroit with Bregman. I don't see it. I really don't see it. I don't know why. I think it would be interesting if the Phillies get involved here. I think the Phillies absolutely can. If they're going to go after Kyle Tucker and let's just say they miss, I feel like they could get interesting and then maybe move Alec Baum, which they've been talking about a little bit. I think that he could fit in here. I'm trying to think where else I could see Bregman like taking a lesser deal because like I would if I'm taking a lesser deal to win, I'm much rather going to Philadelphia than I'm going to Detroit. The city's better. Like they're both not great cities, but like Philly's better. I think they have a better team. They have a better rotation. I think they have more star power, which matters come the playoffs. Like you need your stars to get hot. I don't want to say Seattle because I always just say Seattle, but I don't think Alex Bregman's going to the Seattle Mariners. I don't know. Bregman, I've never had a good read on Alex Bregman, but I'll just, for the sake of time, I'll say, yeah, I think he's out of Boston and probably Detroit just based off everyone, can everyone be wrong?
That's a fair point there. And obviously we got the next one on this list. We got Kyle Schwarber up here. I think this one almost feels like most sure thing out of any free agents this offseason that like you have to re-sign this guy. You can't let him walk. And they're going to do that I think there's no way he leaves the Phillies. I think the Phillies just know that you can't let Kyle Schwarber leave this team. You have to add him back. And if he walks, you're going to have to go get a guy like Pete Alonso. And I think they would rather just say we like Schwarber. We'd rather just have him over Pete Alonso. And I think the Mets would be the opposite side too, where if they lose Alonso to the Phillies, they would just try to grab Kyle Schwarber. I think he stays there. I think the Phillies don't let him walk. I think this is a pretty maybe goes out there, tries to get into some other teams, raises his price a little bit, but I think this will be a fairly quick deal that the Phillies will get done.
The only team that I could see him going to, and I don't actually see it, I just people brought up, is the Reds. I think that'd be wild if the Reds were able to pull off signing Kyle Schwarber right now, especially for the deal he's going to command. Like, are the Reds, do you think they're in a ready position or better than Philly right now to make a playoff run next year? And like, they have some nice pieces. They do. But are they better than Philly?
Are they gonna spend the money on Kyle Schwarber? Like, I don't really see him doing that. Like, I think the other like real threat to like taking Schwarber away from the Phillies would be Boston. I could see Boston going very heavily after him and having him be the DH next year. But I don't really see the Reds thing. I just think it's more of a ballpark. People look at that and they say, look at the opening here, all this. Are the Reds gonna pay a dude $35 million a year to be their DH?
I don't see it, especially because Schwarber's 31 years old.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
32, turning 33 on March 5th. And the biggest deals in Reds history, and this is a quick AI lookup. Joey Votto, 12 years, $251 million. They signed Mike Moustakas to $64 million over 4 years, and Castellanos to $64 million over 4 years. Joey Votto back in 2012, I want to see how old he was when he made that signature, but like the Reds gave that to Votto when he was, of course I pulled up the wrong thing. Let's see.
28 years old, somewhere around there.
He was 28. Good. Yeah, perfect. So Schwarber's 4 years older than him, and he's not their guy. Like Joey Votto was Mr. Red for a little bit. Like he was the face of the franchise. Like you got Ellie De La Cruz. He's right now the face of the franchise. If not, like, and you're gonna have some young pitchers to pay here soon because you've got guys step up like Hunter Green. I don't know. I just don't see it. So I'll agree with you, Philly. Let's keep moving though. This one is one of the more unique ones. And he is the first pitcher we're going to talk about tonight. And the reason why he's unique is Framber Valdez, proven guy, ground ball pitcher. He has been a dog for Houston, but he did something that, some people say is unforgivable. It was classless. He crossed up his catcher this year. And that being said, I think there's certain teams that don't deal with that bullshit. And I don't know exactly who's firm on that. Like if I was running a team and I saw a guy with attitude like that, like I would definitely be hesitant myself. Be like, yeah, dude, I play fantasy football, right? And play fantasy baseball. I make my decisions on guys based off like, if you're an proven unhealthy track record, I don't draft you. If you have issues, I don't draft you. I've drafted one guy in the history of like fantasy football, like that's had character issues. It was Josh Gordon because Josh Gordon is so freaking good. But whenever he played, he was a dog. But I don't draft guys like Tyreek Hill. I let that in. Like I don't draft guys like Christian McCaffrey because they get injured all the time. In baseball, you and anyone listening who's a baseball fan, you know what guys those are when it comes to our sport. And that's like Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May. These guys get injured all the time, it seems like. I don't draft them. Framber Valdez seems to have the talent to be on any team that he would be a positive for. But with that mindset of like, hey, me over the team, I don't know if I want to go spend, what would be. And I'm just looking at this athletic, 4 years, $116 million they're talking about, like what he could be looking at. Are you paying Framber Valdez north of $100 million right now, Hagen?
I mean, I think I would pay him $100 million. I think that he's going to get over that for sure. I think to be around probably that 150 range. I don't know, somewhere around that in that range. But I just I'm someone too. I kind of agree with you here. I don't want Framber Valdez on my team, and that's coming from someone who's on year 4 of Christian McCaffrey. He's my first round pick every year in fantasy. But I'm not going to take it here with Framber Valdez here. I just obviously it's great. He's going to get a lot of ground balls. He's going to eat up a ton of innings. That's a sure thing. Obviously, barring injury here. But I think there's going to be a couple teams that will want him a lot. I think Baltimore is going to be one team that's going to be heavy on him. I think Baltimore is going to get one of either him or Ranger Suarez. I don't know who, and I don't want to pick both of them to go to Baltimore. So I'll say for the sake of argument here that Valdez is going to go to Toronto here. I know I'm picking Toronto a lot heavy here, but I think Toronto and Baltimore are going to get one of these big name pitchers. I don't think Cease is going to be either one of these guys. I think one of these lefties is going to go to one of these teams.
Yeah, I think he's definitely. I think like he's definitely getting north of 100 million. I don't know how many years. Like a $25 million AAV for 4 years is that's a lot of money. And and I'm not trying to put Tim Britton on the spot here from the Athletic, but he's got him 4 years, $116 million, which comes out to almost $29 million a year for Framber. And Framber's what 31 now.
Correct. 32.
Yeah,
Sorry, he'll be 32 next year.
yeah, he'll be 32 years old. That's a lot of cash. I think he's going to be closer to 100 million, bigger AAV. Maybe he does like a 3-year deal and does like opt outs or something like that. I don't know. It depends on the AAV and who's signing him. I think the Cubs can go out and use Framber. The Cubs clearly needed pitching. It's not the bats. And when you look at the rotation right now, you got one lefty with Matthew Boyd. Justin Steele is a lefty, but he's coming off Tommy John. We have no idea how he's going to, fully recover from this. The rest of the rotation, Jameson Taillon, Cade Horton, who had a fantastic rookie year, Colin Ray, who like pitched, lack of better words, out of his ass last year. That was some of the best Colin Ray baseball we'll ever see. And Javier Assad. I think if the Cubs are serious and Shota Imanaga is not going back, he didn't accept his qualifying offer. Uh, the Cubs need to get real about pitching real quick if they have any aspirations to win in 2026. Let's talk about a former Chicago boy, currently a San Diego Padre, Dylan Cease. Hagen, your doppelganger. Let's start with you on Cease.
Yeah, I think if I just grow this beard out for another like 2 months, I might get the beard in his picture from this year. But honestly, the Mets have been a popular one. The Mets have been a popular one. I would like Dylan Cease on this team. I just don't think it's going to happen for a couple of reasons. I don't see David Stearns giving a pitcher $175 million who's going to be 31 already. I don't see him doing that for a guy who has a qualifying offer attached to him. The draft picks are important. I just don't see Stearns going after one of these top guys if they have a QO. You have to pay him close to $200 million unless they're 26, 27 years old. So I just don't – I see it a little bit. I would like him, but I'm going to go Houston on this one here. Obviously, you have Hunter Brown at the top rotation now. Just took third on the Cy Young voting today. You have Framber gone now, but you're going to need someone else to step up there in that rotation because it's getting pretty thin there now. And I think that they're going to let Framber go. I think it just kind of seems like it's just not really going to be their guy anymore. And I think a good Cease around 150 million, maybe. Obviously, it depends what other teams think of him and all that, but I like Houston for Cease.
Houston's that I like hate that. By the way, for all those watching, look it up. If Hagen wore his hat forward with that mustache, twins. But Cease, I think there's a few spots I could see him going to the Red Sox, who need rotational depth help, especially if they don't get Dustin May back. They also have Steven Matz, that will not be actually. Sorry, he's not starting anymore. He's a relief pitcher for them. But yeah, I think Dustin May and Giolito, they're both free agents for Boston. Dylan Cease could be useful in Boston. I think Dylan Cease could be useful for the Cubs and making a return to Chicago. Actually, Houston would be devastating. I'd love to see him in the Mets because I think the Mets would fine tune him to lower his whip, and he would really be like that, top five Cy Young arm because the guy just does not miss starts. He's an animal. He makes almost every start every year. Um, and yeah, I would like to see that. I'm trying to think if there's any other spots. Just because it did the timeline doesn't make sense. Seeing the Cardinals go after Dylan Cease, getting like a controllable starter for multiple years while you build this core, like Mason Wynn, and it's a new regime now under Heim Bloom, so it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, I doubt that happens. Um, I'm gonna let you take this one because he is a member of your current team for now.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. Pete Alonso, he's not going anywhere. That I feel just like Schwarber, I feel very confident that he's not going to go anywhere. I just think the Mets offense can't survive without Pete Alonso on this team. I just spent 30 minutes before the podcast talking with a friend about how Pete Alonso has got to come back as a Met. Feel very confident as well. I just think it's going to come down to Pete Alonso's probably going to want the fifth year. The Mets are going to want the fourth year. I think you could work out some sort of vesting option there with a lower AAV there. But Pete Alonso around 4 years, $125-ish million, whatever it comes out to. Or sorry, 5 years around there, 4 years, whatever is less. But I think it's pretty. I think it's gonna be a Met.
I would have trouble seeing him leave the Mets at this point. I think that Steve Cohen's going to get him whatever deal he can and just like bite the bullet, whether it's a bad deal at the end of it. But Pete Alonso is Mr. Met right now. He is the guy that is the face of the franchise, in my opinion. Even though you have guys like Francisco Lindor there and Juan Soto, when you say New York Met baseball, I think Pete Alonso. I don't think Juan Soto. I think Juan Soto is a guy they pay, and he's a future Hall of Famer. And the same thing with Lindor. I think most are one of the most underappreciated guys in baseball. But when they talk about the Mets, I think about Pete Alonso. So I agree. I think he's staying right put. Let's talk about Cody Bellinger. Mentioned him earlier. I don't think the Yankees are going to be able to go for him and Tucker. And I think for some reason, I think Cody Bellinger really likes New York. There's been no direct quotation about that, but I think Bellinger will try and get a deal done, especially if New York's like, hey, we're going to try and go get Tucker as well and like put him in the outfield with you. We know Trent Grisham's going, and Trent Grisham, he wasn't occupying a lot of money, but obviously he's now going to be after his season, he's going to be looking for a much bigger deal. So yeah, I don't know if it's possible, but I'm going to say Bellinger stays in New York with the Yanks.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one there. I got Cody Bellinger staying with the Yankees here. I think it seems like a guy that the Yankees want to keep. He wants to be there with the Yankees. So obviously, you said there's no direct quotes that he wants to spend his whole career there, at least I've seen. But it's like a guy you want to be there. And it just screams a guy that like Hal Steinbrenner is going to pay a lot. And then it's going to be the last couple of years of the contract. You're like, how do I get rid of this guy on my team? Like, I don't know how Bellinger is going to age if you're paying him a 7-year contract, 6-year contract, whatever you end up giving him. But I can just see Hal Steinbrenner giving him that money.
Yeah, and like he's a lefty, a short porch in New York. I think that Belly, like his numbers, if he stays in the Yankees, will not be as devastating as he drops off later in his career. But he's only 20. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Grisham now because I want to talk about his war, but he just 3.5 last year, $5.25. So Trent Grisham is going to get paid wherever he goes, and he'd be interesting to see if he leaves, him going to Philly or the Dodgers. I see like that might be the route to a cheaper option for the outfield, but let's keep on going. Talking about some of the bigger guys, Ranger Suarez. He did not accept his qualifying offer, I'm pretty sure, with Philly. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what do you think is going on with Ranger?
I mean, I said a little bit earlier, I think Baltimore is going to get one of these two lefties, either him or Framber. And I think here with Ranger, I think he's the more likely one I think Baltimore go after. I feel like he just the way he pitches and the type of pitcher he is just screams Mike Elias to me. And I just think that they're going to go out there, they're going to sign one of these big arms, and I think Baltimore's a great fit for him.
Baltimore's not a bad pick. I think they're going to get somebody. They need some. They need a couple arms. They like two frontline starters. I think. Um, I'm not going to predict this one just because I have no idea. But Tatsuya Imai, he is a pitcher over from Japan who got posted. He's ranked as the 10th ranked in this. Do you have like I don't want to be like the boring person. Oh, he's going to the Dodgers. Like I'm not going to assume that every Japanese born player is going to end up playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers, but it's not a bad bet bet to make at this point.
I mean, this one. There's so many different ways you can go because there's just you don't know how he's going to translate over. It's hard with these Japanese pitchers. I mean, you don't know with the ball changes how his stuff's going to look. I know he has a big issue with keeping his pitches in the zone, especially his off speeds. He throws them in the dirt a lot. Granted, he gets a lot of chase on them too. But I'm going to go with the Mets on this one, honestly, and for two reasons. Because he's going to be 28 years old next year. That fits the age that David Stearns likes to go after here. You're not going to have to give him $200 million, most likely. You can pay him under that. He's going to be 28 years old. You're going to get his prime years of age. And also, too, he doesn't have the qualifying offer attached to him. Out of all these top arms that are in this free agency class, there's two things that he has over everybody else. The age, and he doesn't have the qualifying offer attached to him, which are two huge things, especially where the Mets are at and trying to keep their draft picks. They don't want to give away for the qualifying offer. So I think he could be a good Mets guy. I think, and David Stearns, I believe, gone down there and scouted him before. So I think he's someone the Mets could go after.
It'd be really cool. I think, yeah, the one team I could see him going, I'll predict the San Francisco Giants. They need some rotational help. They're going to try and make a big splash, and it's West Coast. We'll see. We shall see. Edwin Diaz, we talked about him briefly earlier. I think he's going to end up either with the Mets. I'm sorry, the Mets, Yankees, or Dodgers. I don't think that any other team out there is going to be able to afford his services that wants his services. I think it's whoever's willing to give him the contract. Hey, again, what about you?
Yeah, paying a closer $20 to $25 million a year is a luxury to have. I think the Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees are the three teams that would do that. I don't think the Dodgers want to do that and give up the qualifying offer. I think Edwin Diaz is the Met. I think it probably won't be as soon as it was. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for his market to develop a little bit, but I think as a New York Met, I feel pretty confident in that too. I feel confident in them keeping Alonso and Diaz because, in my opinion, it's a failed offseason if you don't bring those guys back unless you're getting another closer. But it's a lot easier to replace a closer than it is to replace a Pete Alonso.
Let's talk about Michael King, starting, pitcher. He's an interesting one. Former Yankee with San Diego. He's very freaking good. I like Michael King the more I think about it to the Atlanta Braves. I think with Strider, Chris Sale is now back, Schwellenbach, who should be healthy. They could add a guy like this, not necessarily your number one starter, not even necessarily your number two starter. You add Michael King to your rotation to be your 3-4. That's a pretty good freaking rotation. And they obviously have the bats and all these we all know about all the extensions that, Anthopoulos made with Atlanta over the last few years with Acuna and Olsen and Riley and Michael Harris. And now Drake Baldwin's probably going to get an extension soon too. They have the bats. They have the pieces to win offensively if they all put it together and stay healthy. My question is the rotation and the bullpen, and why not add a guy like Michael King who's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, and your rotation just became like a surefire top 8 rotation in baseball, maybe even better.
I mean, King with the Braves, I do really like that one a lot. Like it sounds, I know the Braves are saying they're going to be very active this offseason, and I would probably say that one. But a sleeper one that about Nate Roper, he brought this one out, was the Kansas City Royals. And I actually kind of really like that one too. I like the way I think they would be able to develop him very well going forward. And I think it's kind of a sleeper one. I don't think it will happen, but I think it's kind of under radar one that I think a lot of people haven't really mentioned. So shout out to Nate he put that one out there the other day.
All right, like that. Shota Imanaga. This one's weird. Um, so he did not accept his qualifying offer from the Cubs. Uh, for those who don't know, Shota played his first year in Major League Baseball last year. The only crazy thing about it is he's 32 years old, and he will be 33 before the end of next season. So that being said, the qualifying offer, I think it was, do you know,
$22 million.
$22 million. So um, it he signed a 4 year with deal with Chicago for 53 million. So it had a club option this year, and he obviously he opted out. So um, sorry, did he play in 2024 as well? And I missed it.
Yeah, he's had 2
Did I
years in the
say
big
that?
leagues.
He's at 2 years. I apologize for that. He was awesome last year. I just for some reason I thought that was his first year, but um, Shota, who's going to pay a 32-year-old guy? Not like and like what he's looking for is a decent contract. Like he's going to have to go to the big boys who spend a lot, and I don't know. I don't know where to put him because I don't know what he was thinking. I would have stayed with the Cubs.
You know who's crazy enough to do moves that no one else has done, and he has been doing them, is Buster
Say,
Posey. I think he's
oh,
gonna go to San Francisco. I think Buster Posey's gonna make a move there. He's made moves, obviously bringing in Vitello with the manager. He's made moves like that. Traded for Devers, that every other GM probably would have said that was benefit for Boston, just getting him off the books there. He just kind of makes some crazy moves, and they're still big time spenders. I don't think you have to give him a 4 year deal by any means. You could pay him close to market value for a starting pitcher and give him 2 to 3 years, and I think Buster Posey would be willing to do that.
that's not bad. I don't hate that. Especially if they miss out on like a Dylan Cease or um someone another arm. I just said Tetsuya on my maybe he would go to San Fran, but we'll see. Josh Naylor. Let's go through. Let's get up to 20, and then we'll hop off on this list. But we can run through these real quick. Josh Naylor, first baseman, was with Seattle last year. Really upped his game in the stolen bases department. I don't know if I buy it fully that he's going to be stealing, you know, that many bags a season again. Is there, somewhere you see Josh Naylor and someone needing a first base need?
I feel like I see him going back to Seattle. My only issue is Jerry Dipoto actually going to spend some money because I believe he hasn't given out more than $30 million, something like that, ever since he took over as GM. He doesn't really like to spend the money that much. But I do like him as a fit for Seattle. I just don't know if they're going to be willing to pay it.
This is a guy I can more see. We talked about Schwarber, who's going to command like fun coupon money. I think Josh Naylor's way more affordable for the Cincinnati Reds, and they could use a first baseman. Still with me?
Yeah, he could be the Reds there. Yeah, I do like that red shout there. Obviously, being left-handed there in American the ballpark over there. I think it fits more of their. It's not like the Schwarber, like you're saying. I don't think they have the money to go do that, but I think Naylor kind of fits more of their price range on what they're able to do.
Yeah, and if they want to play Steer at first, which is fine, they could have Josh Naylor DH. So I think that'd be interesting. But Josh Naylor last year, he stole a total of 30 bases. Only one other time in his career has he stolen double digits, and that was 2023. So 2 years prior, and he stole 10. So he was well above his career high mark. And I just for a guy, we all talked about it, for a guy who's 28 years old, first time doing that, and you've been in the league now since 2019. It's kind of wild to do. So we'll keep moving though. Let's talk about Gleyber Torres.
I don't really know Gleyber. Yeah, I don't really know where to go with this because I know there was a report today that he's strongly considering accepting the qualifying offer. And if he doesn't, I can honestly see Detroit bringing him back on maybe like a 2 year deal or something like that if he's willing to accept the qualifying offer, but I really don't have that many thoughts on Gleyber Torres, to be honest with you.
Send him to Colorado. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so mad at Gleyber Torres for fading out ever since. I know he was an all-star this year, but like I was so hyped on Gleyber Torres after his freshman, first and second seasons in New York that I ended up trading him, I think, straight up to Dean in our big league in fantasy baseball for Rafael Devers when Devers was just getting started as well. Boy, how that trade was awful for me. That was a terrible move. I should have never done it. So I don't really care where Gleyber Torres goes. Eugenio Suarez, next guy on our list. He is crazy old. He fell off big time after his deal trade last year from Arizona to Seattle. I don't think this is going to be pretty. I do not think he's going to get the money he thinks he's going to, deserved. I do not think he's going to get the years that he wants. I think it's going to go to a team willing to spend a little bit at the end. I could see like the Royals kind of beefing up their, lineup with this and like play Vinny P at first. You play, obviously, you got Michael Garcia at third, with it set short. Um, you work on the outfield with some guys like Yastrzemski. I keep seeing his name to the Royals, and then try and get a bat like Eugenio Suarez. Just play DH if like, especially if he can play first base a little bit for you if you need, and third base as well. Especially if Salvador Perez, he's getting older. If they plan to DH Salvi a little bit more than what they've been doing, and go after a catcher, so that would be interesting for me if he went to the Royals or something like that. I think that'd be a good match for both Suarez and the Royals.
I like that fit, but ever since that Eugenio Suarez got traded at the deadline, I know he wanted to stay in Arizona at the time. He liked playing it there for them. And I said, what happens if you say, we're going to trade you now, we're going to get Nets prospects in return, and we bring you back here in the offseason? I think he's going to stay with the Arizona Diamondbacks or go back to the Arizona Diamondbacks, pardon me, and go back to there and be their DH this year. Obviously, you have Jordan Lawler there still. He still needs to pan out there. He can play some 30, he can DH, whatever you really need him to do. Then you can mix in Lawler, and then if he's not what you think he is and he's not whatever, you can put Gino over there at third. You can play some, not the best defense, but you can play third. You can find some DH for you. So I like him in Arizona.
Yeah. Got four more players. So hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Muntaka Murakami. Murakami, people are obsessed with. They think he's going to be the new Japanese masher of the baseball. Has a high strikeout rate. I don't want him in New York. I think he's going to command a lot of money. I don't know, San Francisco, depending what their needs are, they can go after him. I don't know. Where do you see Murakami going?
He's going to be such a big question for me to watch this offseason. He's kind of one of those 3 or 4 guys, and I'm most excited to see how their markets pan out because we also know WBC. This guy could be an absolute monster, but this guy could also be an absolute disaster too. I mean, his swing and miss is awful. I mean, he barely makes contact with the ball in the zone when he swings. His whiff is insane, but he has insane power here. And I think there's a few teams in there. Like you said, I think the Giants are one of the teams in there. Obviously, you're going to have to put the Dodgers in here either way. I don't think the Dodgers do it, but you have to put them in there. I think I would say either the Mariners or the Red Sox, though. I just think one of those 2 teams is going to do it. I think if it's going to be a higher contract, I can see Boston doing it, but I'm very intrigued to see where this goes. I think this can go anywhere.
I agree. I think it's a total wild card. Let's knock out these last 3. So Brandon Woodruff. Woodruff is interesting. He dealt with major injuries last season, missed the entire year, came back this year for the Brewers. Brew Crew, I don't think they could afford his services, especially like for what he's looking for. Would love to see Woodruff land. Maybe Texas. Maybe Texas needs to add him, work on the pitching a little bit. If not, he could be a Cub, but I doubt he'll go interdivision. I think he could also be, who else needs pitching? I think San Diego might, get in the mix here. I think there's a lot of different ways Brandon Woodruff can go. It just depends how much money people are willing to shell out for a 32-year-old coming off of what did he have? He had a shoulder surgery, right?
Older, yeah.
Held him out for a long time. So we'll see how that goes down. Where do you like Woodruff to go to?
I was gonna say the Cubs, but I mean, Danny said it too. I don't know if I can see someone a lifelong Brewer like going over there to the Cubs. I just can't really see that, especially when he would probably want to stay with Milwaukee and they can't pay him. I just can't really see him doing that to the Cubs. I'm just gonna go a complete wild card here that I don't think anybody has on the radar. I think is gonna go with the Athletics. I think they need pitching. I think they need to spend a little more money too. I think they can just dish out a contract to him and say, hey, we can call that an offseason now.
Jeez, that would be a random hot take to nail. I hope you get that, honestly. Devin Williams, I keep seeing stuff of him going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. That makes me want to puke, especially like if he just like is full back to Devin Williams, the airbender. Like it's like what the hell happened in New York? Like you could take the stress of playing in LA, who's, back to back titles and they got all eyes watching them, and you can't do it in New York as well as you did in Milwaukee. So I'm not like rooting against the guy. I just like if he's gonna pitch and pitch well, I hope he comes back to the Yankees. If not, I definitely don't want to see him in the Dodgers uniform. But I think if I think he could end up in New York just on the Mets, especially if the Mets lose Diaz to free agency.
Yeah, I think that's the two teams here. I think it's pretty. I feel very confident Mets are going to be Diaz back, and then I think Devin Williams. I feel pretty confident go to the Dodgers. Or I think it's vice versa. The Dodgers go for Edwin Diaz. I think Devin Williams will end up on the Mets here. I just think it's the Dodgers are going to go after this guy. He's going to get him right. He's going to be a great closer for him next year. I see that happening so well. Obviously, he struggled with New York, but you don't have to give him that big of a contract either. He doesn't have the qualifying offer attached to him, so I can see him being a Los Angeles Dodger next year, be their closer.
And finally, our last free agent, the top 20 on this list. Let's talk about Merrill Kelly. He's a starter, was with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's going to make some money here. Who do you think could use like a 3-4 starter like Merrill Kelly where he's going to get paid?
I think Atlanta could be a team where they could throw him in there in the rotation. I think he'd be a really good fit there. I'm going to say he just sticks to Arizona. Obviously, he's one that I wanted him on the Mets too. If they want to go after kind of guy that doesn't have the QO attached to him, but I'm going to say Merrill Kelly stays here in Arizona with the Diamondbacks.
All right. Well, that's it. That's the top 20. Hagen, before I close this out, anything else you want to mention?
I think you got to mention just real quick, Kazuma Okamoto. I think he's another big one too. I think that obviously Murakami gets all the hype, but lately people are kind of looking into the data a little bit more, and they're saying Okamoto could be more of a. He's definitely the safe play. Is the easy way to put it. I think Murakami is the high risk, high reward. Is the way a lot of people put it, where that guy could be awful or he could be very well for you. I think Okamoto could be he's a lot safer play there. And I know I had Murakami going to Boston, one of those teams in there. I think Okamoto be a team that Seattle and Boston, one of those teams, if they want the more sure thing, maybe not pay as much money, go after Okamoto, get him done.
I like that. I like that. That being said, we got a lot of free agency news to cover. I will be writing a lot more blogs coming up now between now and the new year and the rest of the off season. Just been obviously you could tell I'm in a new background for any of those who are still listening to us. I moved into a house, did the adult thing, moved in with my significant other. And life's been busy. Life's been busy. I love talking ball. One of my favorite things of the week is talking with Hagen on this show. So please like, subscribe, help us out. We're just here to talk ball. And yeah, that's it for us. Thanks.